thank you for your testimony and coming all this way to give us your point of view on this. Is there specific questions for this testifier? I certainly want to be mindful of the time, and I need to, as you know, keep enough time for Comcast to also give us their side of the issue. Representative Barton, welcome to the House Committee on Consumer Protection.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Pleasure to have you here. Go ahead with your question.
It's wonderful to be back. Thank you for allowing me to return. I missed it, and it's also, I'm delighted to see this under the steady hand and leadership of Vice Chair Gilliam as well. It's really, it's been a great committee. About 1/3 of my district is on satellite only, and as a diehard fanatical Blazers fan myself, it strikes me as somehow not right. Your testimony, by the way, thank you very much for coming out. It compels me. I would love to act, but I'm uncertain, to say the least, about what, if anything, we could do, never mind should do. You mentioned a few things, for example, that the State Attorney General might have standing about certain state law. Could you talk more about that? Explain to me what, if anything, not only could the State Attorney General do, but this legislature? Well,
I met with a member of the Attorney General's office today. I think that we had good, frank, and open discussions, and I believe he's earnestly going to look into the matter and see what rights, if any, under his purview he can use to try and effect a good and fair and just result. But as the Attorney General, he certainly has the right to weigh in under the Comcast merger. Every state has that right, in addition to the federal government. Now, there's certainly tremendous issues of fairness and equity. Certainly, Comcast had made representations early on when they made their deal with the Trailblazers that every single person in the state would be able, if they so choose, to see a home game, regardless of who the provider is. Now, you mean to tell me you can't make a deal in 3 years? You made incidental deals with other cable companies to say, look what we're doing. We're working hard on this, but it takes time. It takes two to tango. Dish TV and Direct TV, they're not earnestly bargaining like we are. You need to look into that. I respectfully submit. Find out what's happening. But what's happening for sure is the people of your state are not getting what they should be getting, what they're entitled to, because there's no competition. It's no fault of their own they can't get Comcast. Comcast doesn't deliver to them. So we should try and use our best efforts to try and effect a settlement.
I appreciate your comments. I'm going to go back to Representative Barton in a minute, but I just want to key on one aspect of his question that I didn't really hear is, I mean, frankly, we're talking about the issue for the consumer is, I guess, access to being able to watch these games. And really, what's the connection to the merger? I mean, it seems like those are sort of unrelated to me. And why are you creating that nexus, I guess?
Let me submit this to you. In the realm of possibility, I'm not suggesting this is going to happen, but certainly it could happen. Comcast acquires NBC. NBC is handled through Direct TV and Dish. All of a sudden, now they deny access of NBC stations to the providers of their competitors. I think it's happened in the state before, hasn't it, where NBC was taken off the air for a while?
I've seen it.
I was told that
earlier
in my area.
I'm not aware of it.
In one of the,
ABC.
I'm sorry?
ABC.
ABC. So it's happened to another organization. But anyway, I throw that out. It's the more powerful a company gets, the more brazen they get. And if, in fact, the merger goes through, it's not without the realm of possibility, now that Comcast and NBC are one, that they can deny access to NBC, again, to people who do not receive Comcast. I'm not suggesting that'll happen, but certainly it's possible, and it answers the question of why we should be concerned with this type of behavior of denying coverage when, in fact, their coverage is being broadened.
I appreciate that answer. I think it might be I mean, it seems like it happened without a merger, and I don't know, it seems sort of hypothetical to me, and it could happen either with or without the merger. But I'm going to let Representative Barton have one more question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quick follow-up. Thank you for the answer. But going back, pretend for a moment that you were, God forbid, an Oregon legislator.
So he's wealthy.
I respect Attorney General Kroger. He, for example, as on behalf of the state, can weigh in on the merger. That is his right. It's conferred by statute, I believe. But what, if anything, and by the way, I suspect the answer is not much, can this legislature do to in any way influence this problem?
Well, I think you certainly have the power by your position and who you represent to inquire of the parties, why is it what you promised to do has not been done? Okay. Why is it that the state is divided, and if you don't receive Comcast, you're not getting home games? Why can't you come to a deal to provide a fair price so that people can watch games that are sold out? Usually it's the opposite. You're trying to get people in the seats. But these are people who live in rural areas who would like nothing more than to sit and watch their Trailblazers.
Thank you. I need to move on to another question. One more question for this witness, and I need to bring up some others. I don't know who was next. Representative Gilliam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I am also grateful that Representative Barton could join us, and having not sat through any of our other testimony and dominate our last meeting. You know, it seems to me we don't have to declare.
He raised his hand first. If you would move on with your question, please.
We don't have to declare any conflicts in a public hearing, in an informational hearing, do we?
No, we do not.
No. It seems to me once you start, once you start opening this, and I'm not still convinced that anything we can do from the state legislature, but you open up a lot of other kinds of issues, and maybe that's what your group wants to advocate for. But I speak specifically of the NFL, for instance, being exclusively just on the flip side, on the dish instead of the cable. So it seems to me if we start discussing this, we're going to have a level playing field, pun intended, and talk about the rest of them.
And I think that's fair game, but I think the initial question that people of this state have is the fact that you're a rural state. It's not as if you're an urban center with a wide population that has the choice of either getting cable, dish, or otherwise. You don't have that choice. And it should be about choice and the deliverable of getting that which you were promised. And what you were promised is they would use their best efforts to give the home games to competitors at a fair price. You haven't gotten that. You've gotten smaller deals so that they can point that they're doing something. If they really believe that there was pressure on them to deliver for the people of your state, they'd do it.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony.